Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. It's good to be back with you. Sorry I couldn't be with you on Tuesday. Pardon me. I just had an incredibly busy day. Hey, listen, do not forget, July 12th through 14th, Ardmore, Oklahoma, Ardmore Convention Center for the Preterist Pilgrim Weekend 2018. Our theme is Back to Basics, and I know a lot of you are already excited about this. I know our speakers are excited about it. This is going to be absolutely fantastic. Well, and by the way, do not forget to get yourself a copy of Steve Temple's book, Who Was the Mother of Harlots, Drunk with the Blood of the Saints, in the book of Revelation, obviously. I shared with you in my review of Joel Richardson's book, Mystery Babylon, of how he just arbitrarily identifies Babylon as Mecca. Well, I'm sorry, that just doesn't work. It completely ignores the linguistic background, the linguistic use of the word harlot in the Old Testament, which is the source of John's use of that word in the book of Revelation. You will be absolutely amazed at Steve Temple's development of that doctrine and that theme of Babylon, the harlot, and what it meant. Okay, go to my website, donkpreston.com, bibleprophecy.com, and order a copy of Steve's book. You'll be awfully glad that you did. Well, we are continuing our study of the resurrection. We've been comparing Revelation with Romans chapter 8. And in Romans chapter 8, where Paul discusses the birth pangs of the Messiah, and he said the whole creation groans in the labor pains until now. That motif of tribulation and suffering immediately before the resurrection is a motif that is found throughout the Old Testament. The rabbis understood it. Biblical scholars have and do understand it. Most of all, Jesus and his apostles taught that concept. I've been sharing with you some thoughts very specifically from Revelation chapter 11. I got to tell you what, folks. As far as I'm concerned, Revelation is just definitive proof. It's an unget-overable argument and proof that the resurrection was in AD 70. By the way, someone the other day commented that I had used the word unget-overable, and they said I had made up a word. No, that's from my youth. I used to attend debates in my youth, and I used to hear preachers make arguments and say, that's unget-overable. Well, I really honestly believe that Revelation chapter 11, properly understood, properly interpreted, is an unget-overable argument that the resurrection occurred in AD 70. Now notice, we have the destruction of the city, quote, where the Lord was slain. That is the interpretive explanation of the spiritual application, the spiritual terms, Sodom and Egypt. Won't go into that right now. But the point of fact is that John is told about the destruction of that great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, and it is also where the Lord was slain. That it is also where is the interpretive explanation of what is meant by Sodom and Egypt. So here we have the judgment of the city where the Lord was slain. We then have the sounding of the seventh trumpet, and in the days of the sounding of the seventh trumpet, what do we have? We've got the resurrection. And we've got the resurrection of Daniel chapter 12. Now notice this. Daniel chapter 12 verse 2, many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall arise, some to everlasting life, some to everlasting condemnation. That's the resurrection. You know, it's absolutely astounding to me how people come along, some former preterists, and saying, oh, Yeah, Daniel chapter 12, verse 2, that is the resurrection. But Daniel chapter 12, verse 1, you see, that's the time of Antiochus Epiphanes. So they insert a gap of so far of 2,500 years from Daniel chapter 12, verse 1, and the period at the end of Daniel chapter 12, verse 1, and then the prediction of the resurrection of Daniel chapter 12, verse 2. And guess what? They claim, oh no, that's not a gap. Well, yes it is. If you apply Daniel chapter 12, verse 1 to the time of Antiochus Epiphanes, and then you apply Daniel chapter 12, verse 2 to a yet future event, you've got a 2,500-year gap. I don't care what type of pedantic sophistry you might engage to try to avoid that. It's a gap. Now watch this. Daniel, here's the prediction of the resurrection. Daniel was told, I'm going to skip over some territory here. Daniel was told in Daniel chapter 12 and verse 3, and by the way, twice in Daniel chapter 12, he was told this vision is for the last days. It's far off. He was told, seal the book because it's not near. It's for a long time off. Then, Daniel chapter 12 and verse 13, Daniel was told, Daniel, go your way. You're going to sleep with your fathers. That's a euphemism for saying you're going to die. But you shall arise at the end of the days for your inheritance. Now watch this. Daniel chapter 12 verse 2, prediction of the resurrection. Daniel chapter 12 verse 13, prediction of the resurrection, the time when Daniel the prophet would be rewarded, right? Daniel the prophet would be dead. He would arise to his inheritance at the end of the days. His inheritance is his reward. His reward is the eternal, everlasting inheritance of 1 Peter chapter 1, 5 and following, 3 and following, that Peter said was about to be revealed. I can't get sidetracked here, okay? In Daniel chapter 12, after seeing the vision or hearing the vision, hearing the prediction of the resurrection, one angel asks another, when shall these things be? When shall these things be fulfilled? Another angel lifts his hands to heaven and swears by him who lives forever and ever and says, it shall be for a time, times and a half time. And when the power of the holy people has been completely shattered, all of these things will be fulfilled. Now watch this, folks. It doesn't say some of these things. It doesn't say, well, verse 1 will be fulfilled. Oh, but wait, verse 2, it will not be fulfilled at the same time. It will be fulfilled at a totally different time. It's unrelated to everything else of the vision. You see what nonsense is created when people try to create gaps in the text that are not there? So watch this. The resurrection is included in all of these things. And it would be fulfilled when the power of the holy people was completely shattered. Now let's go to Revelation 11. In Revelation chapter 11, we have the sounding of the seventh trumpet. It's the time of the dead that they should be judged. That's the resurrection. Oh, and the time that the prophets, was Daniel a prophet? Of course he was. That the prophets should be rewarded. Okay, Daniel would be rewarded at the end of the days when the power of the holy people is completely shattered. Revelation 11, at the time of the resurrection, the prophets would be rewarded. When would that be? In the destruction and judgment of the city, quote, where the Lord was slain. Now look, folks, the resurrection of Revelation 11 is the time of the rewarding of the prophets. The time of the rewarding of the prophets is the time of the resurrection to eternal life. That's 1 Corinthians 15. That's Romans 8, which means since the resurrection of Revelation chapter 11 is in fulfillment of Daniel 12, resurrection to eternal life. And since the resurrection of Revelation 11 would be at the time of the destruction of the city where the Lord was slain, that means Romans 8 and 1 Corinthians 15 was fulfilled in AD 70 at the fall of the city where the Lord was slain. And I've got this and a whole lot more in my book, Who is This Babylon? Please go to my website, DonKPreston.com, BibleProphecy.com, order the book, make a mention that you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook, and I'll pay your shipping. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this morning's Morning Musings, and naturally, we've got more, so we'll see you on the flip side.